I want to thank you for tuning in here today. And we're going to continue to talk about faith, but I'm going to talk about midnight faith. When we think about that subject of a midnight faith or a faith during a dark time, it reminds me of a story of a lawyer talking to his client that he was protecting in court. And he said, listen, he goes, I got good news and I have bad news. And the client said, well, what's the bad news? And he said, well, the bad news is through the DNA test, your blood was found all over the crime scene. And the client said, oh, no, I'm just like ruined. What's the good news? And the lawyer said, well, the good news is your cholesterol is down to 130. Well, that's the way I kind of feel about what we're going through right now. It's hard to find good news when you are having midnight problems. Now, the story in which I want to look at today is Paul and Silas. Here they are, they're serving God, they're preaching on the streets, they're leading people to Jesus Christ. Well, the authorities come along and they arrest them, they throw them in jail, and they beat them. It's kind of hard sometimes as a believer to understand why God permits certain things to take place. So I want to look at how do you survive your dreams and keep them alive. Survive and keep them alive. What the devil wants to do is he wants to use problems to block your perspective about what God is trying to do. Let us look here in Acts chapter 16 in verse 25. And here it says, about midnight, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God, and the other prisoners were listening to them. And then the next verse, suddenly there was such a violent earthquake that the foundations of the prison, they were shaken. At once, all the prison doors just flew open and everyone's chains came off. I just want you to imagine this scene. Here they are, they're in jail, and at the height, they're beaten, they've been whipped, they are in pain. So what do? They pray and they begin to sing. They're just bringing praise unto God. And the chains that are on them come off, the doors open up because God is doing something great. Now, also, I want you to notice the Bible says this is at midnight. It's hard to have midnight faith, right when you're at the height in the midst of your problems. Did you know that God can turn your tragedy into triumph? Here they are, they're at the darkest moment of their life, they're in jail, but they're still praising the Lord. And notice, first of all, that they were praying. I would like now to look here at Mark chapter 10, verse 27. With men it is impossible, but not with God. For with God all things are possible. I know right now you might be in a situation, maybe you're sick, and please, if you have come down with the virus, I want you to contact the church so that we can encourage you and help you during this period of time. But I want to let you know, if it's financial problems, if it's you can't make your house payment or worries about the future, God has no problems. God only has plans. Did you know that your whole life is just made up of a whole bunch of little stories? And there's all sorts of trouble and heartache and confusion between once upon a time and happily ever after. I have a sign on the outside of my house from a tragedy we went through years ago, and it says this: I've walked too long under the stars to fear the night.